Hello and welcome to a special presentation from In the Money Media, In the Money YouTube channel. We are back by popular demand with the two men who've set the In the Money record for most viewed video with their thoughts, very accurate thoughts, I might add, on the Kentucky Derby. From NBC, we bring in Randy Moss and Jerry Bailey in a bucolic environment. Where are you guys?
That's the Pimlico the Stakes barn right there, the
Oh,
Preakness barn.
You notice we're showing you the barn and not the grandstand clubhouse.
Yeah, there's a reason for that, Pete.
yes, I heard the press elevator has completely given up the ghost. You guys, extra steps getting in for all the journalists, lots of grumbling, I'm sure. Of course, the Preakness will be back at Pimlico in a few years, going to Laurel for next year. But I'll tell you what, we got an interesting storyline for this last for a minute Preakness at Pimlico, which you can watch, of course, on NBC. We'll get to those details at some stage in the video. But let's talk about this big storyline. Journalism, they did elect to come back in 2 weeks' time. Start with this question. Jerry, are you surprised to see the Derby favorite running here?
No, not especially not talking to his trainer, Michael McCarthy, this morning. He said that he felt he was training and looking and eating, which eating is the barometer of how a horse is doing, eating as well as he was going into the Kentucky Derby. So he didn't seem like there was any question at all after he gave him a week to just look at him.
But
Right.
one thing that we pointed out to McCarthy, and he agreed with, is something that Wayne Lukas told Jerry and I a long time ago. And that is that the better a racehorse is, the tougher it is to tell if a race took anything out of him or not.
Right.
Because the good racehorses always love their job. In Wayne's words, they're always the horses that meet you at the front of the stall webbing every morning, ready to go to the track. And you can't really tell because they're always enthusiastic about their job. And Jerry points out, when you ride them,
it's just the same story, because if the horses are going to work out in the morning between those races that we're talking about, it's never a very far workout. It's only a half a mile usually, and it's not at full speed. It's generally 3/4 speed. So there's no way, even if you're accustomed to the horse and you know the horse like the back of your hand, there's no way to know in training if the horse is going to have the same energy the second race in a short turnaround as he did the first race. So many times, even as a rider, I wouldn't know until I hit the top of the stretch if the tank was still as full as it should be or as it normally is.
Fascinating. The big X factor when you're looking at this race and trying to come up with not who the favorite should be. I think we all know that's journalism, but at what price he would be a good bet. Let's go back to that idea of the market. We've seen the market be very weird in the Preakness, in my opinion, over the last several years, where we've had horses from the Derby come back and, in my view, be better prices than I ever thought they would have been. I'm thinking of Epicenter and Mage specifically, horses I thought would have been long odds on, or at least odds on, going off odds against. Do you think we might see that with journalism? What price, Randy, do you think he's going to be when they get in the gate? And then, more importantly, what price should he be?
well, he's 8-5 in the morning line. I would be tempted to say that he should be about 6-5 or 7-5 or so when they run. But you've also now got the social media Sandman factor involved. You know, when you look at the wagering in the Kentucky Derby, I mean, Jerry and I were shocked that Sandman was such a shorter price in comparison to Sovereignty, right? And I think, you know, with Griffin Johnson here, Sandman here, social media is going to be bonkers about Sandman. So I think he's going to take more money than you would think, and that's going to drive up the price on the other horses a bit, including journalism.
Jerry, what do you think about that same question? What price he'll be? Do you agree with Randy? And for you, at what price would he be something somebody might consider making a wager at that may be good value?
I think he should probably be shorter at post time than 8-5. But I agree with Randy, because watching throughout the day at Churchill Downs, Sandman was 5-1 and Sovereignty was 9-1 a lot of the day, and I just couldn't see it. Now he disappointed, so maybe the bloom is off the rose, especially at a shorter distance, which you would think without a ton of speed. There is some speed, but not a ton. I don't think you have Kentucky Derby like speed, which would help a closer like Sandman. I don't think that benefits him. So maybe reality will set in a little bit, but I guess the jury's out on how much the social influencer influences the odds.
I love what Griffin Johnson's done for the sport, by the way. Win, lose, or draw here, bringing in so many eyeballs. Let's talk about the pace. You are a pace guy, Randy. How fast do you think it's going to be here?
It'll be honest, but I don't think it'll be a pace that you can necessarily predict will be fast. Right? I think it'll be honest enough that a quality speed horse can still win, especially if the racetrack surface is wet. And God knows we've had plenty of rain here this week, and it's supposed to keep raining. Not so sure about Saturday, but yeah, look, goal oriented has got to go from post position number one. He was wire to wire in that allowance race at Churchill Downs on and off racetrack. So just because of the rail only, he's got to go. Clever Again is going to go because that's his typical running style. What we don't know really is if Clever Again can be as effective if he's stalking as he was when he went wire to wire in the Hot Springs Stakes and he beat Gaming. I think that's really the only question we have right now about Clever Again. The way the pace looks like it's going to develop.
I got two more questions for you guys. I'm going to ask you for an interesting long shot to put in the mix. I'm going to ask to keep an eye on. I'm going to ask you for a selection in the race. Before we do that, though, I think we should tell the folks where they can watch this NBC coverage of the Preakness. We know if you have Peacock, you'll be able to watch the full gamut of it. But Jerry, I know you're the one with this information usually at the ready. What hours are you guys going to be on?
It's all Peacock on Friday for the
Right.
Black Eyed Susan and the two races prior, 4:30 to 6. On Saturday, the coverage begins on CNBC at 2 p.m. and it switches over to NBC, I believe, at 4 o'clock until the Preakness runs at 7-ish.
Yeah, perfect. And
How about
while
that? Jerry came through again.
Of course. Well, he always does. You never feel more confident than when you bet your money on Jerry Bailey. I've been saying that for, a few decades now. While we're giving sponsor and love to the world out there, we just want to let folks know very quickly, Preakness Betting Challenge, great way to get involved if you're wagering. Go to expressbet.com/tournaments to learn more about that one. Let's do the long shot question first. And maybe the answer is going to be the same here. We didn't produce this at all. Jerry, we'll start with you. Horse at a big price you might have your eye on in this year's Preakness.
I don't really have a good long shot. I mean, I don't think Gosger rhymes with Moss, Gosger. I don't think he's good enough. I don't like American Promise coming back. I don't think goal oriented can step up like that because he's going to get pressure early. I don't think you would consider Clever Again a long shot. So I don't think there is a long
Heart
shot.
of Honor would be mine for the bottom of a try or a super. I don't think he's good enough to run 1-2, but you see this all the time. You saw it with Final Gambit, Kentucky Derby. You get these late closers that clunk up at a decent price as the speed is fading in the final 3/16 of a mile, and they can often key a pretty nice exotic. So he would be the only one that I think would fit that description.
Pete, I didn't like to ride long shots when I rode, and I don't like to pick them when I'm fast. So there you go.
You'll be seeing a lot, I'm sure, about Heart of Honor on the broadcast. The Osbornes are wonderful people, and what a great story with Safi Osborne, who does such a great job riding over in the UK on his back. Can't wait to see what you guys come up with to talk about her and trainer Jamie, who's one of the good guys and has done some great work with horses in this part of the world. Don't forget that. It hasn't been for a minute, but very, very competent trainer. Time for the rubber to meet the road. Selections. Jerry, you're focused on the top of the market, but is it journalism or is someone else you're going to select?
No, I picked journalism in the Derby, and I realize it's 2 weeks turnaround, but I'm going to be what Michael McCarthy says, that he looks as good going into this race as he did going into the Derby, and I think he's the best horse. So that's what I'm going with.
Randy, I sense you're going to go to a different direction.
Yeah, I will. I don't think there's any argument that journalism is the best horse, all things being equal. But nowadays, I don't think the 2-week turnaround means that all things are equal. I mean, we've seen enough evidence just with Epicenter, with all these horses that come back from the Kentucky Derby and run in the Preakness, they may still run well, but not as well as they did in the Kentucky Derby. So I'm expecting journalism to run well, but possibly not be quite as sharp as he was in the Derby. And at that price, at 8-5 or lower, then I'll go with Clever again. I don't think that much separates the two horses, and he's had more time in between races. He'll be with the Griffin Johnson factor and Sandman. There's a possibility that it may inflate the odds on Clever again to 5-1 or something like that. And to me, that would be a pretty good price for him.
His past performance cut looks a lot like those of Cloud Computing and Early Voting, two horses that won this very race. So I pick up what you're laying down there. Guys, I know you got a lot to do. We're going to let you go. Thank you so much to Jerry and Randy and NBC and ExpressBet for sponsoring this video. Please subscribe to the In the Money Media YouTube channel for more great horse racing content.